Which one? The twins were born during the longest storm of that year, their cries mingling with the thunder. Paul always remembered that, the sound of wind howling outside the hospital window, and the way his wife's face went pale when she first held them, like she saw something she wouldn't speak of. Isabel died 3 days later. The doctors said it was a complication, an undetected aneurysm, sudden and unpreventable. Paul didn't believe them. Not really. Something about the way her fingers had curled around the baby's blankets, the terrified look in her eyes when she whispered, "One of them, something's wrong," kept haunting him. The twins, Liam and Luca, grew fast. Identical in every way, same olive skin, same dark curls, same mole behind the left ear. Paul used to joke that if they ever wanted to commit a crime, they'd be unbeatable. But by the time they were 5, he had stopped laughing. It started small. A drawing in crayon, 2 stick figures, both with big smiles, and a third with a black scribble where the face should have been. When Paul asked, Liam, or was it Luca, pointed and said, "That's the thing that follows us." He tried to brush it off. Kids say weird things. But then came the whispers. Late at night, Paul would hear one of them talking to someone. Whispering in the dark, sometimes in a voice too deep to be a child's. He'd storm in, and both would be asleep, or pretending to be. One morning, Paul found their bedroom walls covered in words, scrawled in what he hoped was marker, but looked far too much like dried blood. "Let me in. Let me in. Let me in." Over and over. He tried to talk to them. Separately. Who did this? Each one pointed to the other. Paul tried cameras. He installed one in their room while they were at school, hoping to catch which of them was acting out. That night, he watched the footage live. 2:03 a.m., both boys asleep. 2:11 a.m., one of them sat up. Not sat, rose. Like lifted by invisible strings. The figure turned its head to look directly into the camera. The eyes glowed. Not reflected. Glowed. Then, without moving its lips, it whispered, "Stop watching." The feed cut out. Paul tore through the room that night, flipping on lights, dragging them out of bed. "Which one of you is awake?" They stared at him. Silent. "Answer me." One started to cry. The other just smiled. Paul stared between them, his hands trembling. He started keeping them apart after that. One in the bedroom, one in the guest room. Rotated every night. He didn't tell them why. But they knew. They started turning on each other. Accusing each other of things Paul never witnessed. Dead birds in the backyard, strange symbols carved into wood, Isabel's wedding dress found torn and soaked in black water in the attic. He begged a priest to come. The priest took one look at the boys and said, "I'll call someone. I'm not equipped for this." He never returned. Then the animals started dying. Neighbors' cats, their own dog, ripped apart, always during nights when the bad one had the guest room. Paul had taken to locking that room now. Reinforced door. Salt lines. Mirrors covered. Every precaution the internet could offer. One night, Paul sat with both boys across the dinner table. Their identical faces stared at him in silence. He didn't eat. "I need you to tell me," he said softly. "One of you isn't real. One of you is hurting this family." Neither spoke, but one reached out and placed a hand over his. Cold. Too cold. The other's eyes filled with tears. Paul felt the answer in his gut. But guts lie. He needed proof. So he made a choice. That night, he locked the one who cried in the guest room. Prayed. Slept outside the door, clutching a kitchen knife. In the morning, he opened it slowly. The boy stood in the center of the room, unharmed. Smiling. "I knew you'd pick me," he said. Paul fell to his knees in relief. He gathered him up, held him tight. For 3 days, everything was quiet, peaceful, until he found the other one. In the basement. Nails broken, fingers bloodied, scratching at the inside of the freezer he had accidentally locked him in. Still breathing. Barely. Paul screamed until his throat tore. But it was too late. The boy opened his eyes. Whispered, "He tricked you." Paul turned. The other twin stood in the doorway. Smiling wide. Eyes now black as ink. "Daddy," the boy said, "you picked wrong."